Marlboro College's 66th commencement, everyone. Live from Marlboro College.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. All right.
Yeah, I'm fine.
That's pretty good. That's good.
Oh, yeah?
Well, that's true. I mean,
Oh, maybe they know he's not here.
College.
Maybe he's just in the graduate program. Yeah. Well, if he's graduated, we'll probably listen to him.
President McCulloch Lovell, Governor Shumlin, Dr. Glazier, Dr. Schneck, Ms. Kidd, Mrs. Kidd, Mr. Lamb, fellow trustees, Marlboro faculty, and Marlboro staff. Distinguished guests, and most importantly, the class of 2013. Welcome all to the 66th commencement of Marlboro College. I am Dean Nisseper, chair of the board, and I want to thank you all for joining us here on this 66th commencement. Commencement is always my favorite event at Marlboro. It's wonderful to see the entire community come together to celebrate and honor the members of our graduating class who have worked so hard and who represent the culmination of not only their own efforts, but also the efforts of all of the faculty, staff, trustee, parents, family members over the past 4 years. To the class of 2013, let me be the first to congratulate you. 37 years ago, I sat where you sit today at my graduation from Marlboro. And I am part of the more than 70% of all Marlboro graduates who went on to attend graduate school after Marlboro. All of you in our 2013 class of graduates are about to join me as Marlboro alumni. You will learn the pride that I feel in being a Marlboro alum. I ask that each of you periodically think back to your time here at Marlboro, appreciate what it has meant to your life and what it has contributed to you as a person. And I ask that you come back to Marlboro and again be rewarded by giving to this community. And I don't just mean financially, although we will ask you for that. But I mean also to give your time, your intellect, and the experience that you have learned in the world beyond Marlboro, so that you come back and so that Marlboro will be as important to the students in many generations to come as it is to you and me. Thank you, and congratulations to our graduating class. I now have the pleasure of introducing to you a person whose leadership over the past 9 years has contributed enormously to Marlboro's financial soundness and has given the college a much greater awareness of what it is, what it can be, and what it will be. The president of Marlboro College, Ellen McCulloch Lovell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dean, for your warm welcome and for your leadership as Marlboro's first alumnus chairman. I welcome the podium party as well. We're proud to have our governor of Vermont and Julie Johnson Kidd, who's done so much to uphold the liberal arts. I welcome former President Tom Regal and his wife, Nancy. It was a long, long winter, and it's time to celebrate. The lilacs and the apple blossoms have popped, along with a few champagne corks. And here you are, the graduating class of 2013, at this, our last ceremony. We call it commencement, but it is also farewell. let's take a moment for gratitude. For the gift of our own musicians, for the families and friends who supported these graduates through the years, for the Board of Trustees, their gifts of time, talent, and treasure, and love for this college. Will you please stand to be recognized? For your faculty, those mentors who guided and chided you to this honor, who treated you with respect as colleagues, your achievements are also their achievements. They are the Marlboro you will never forget. I want to recognize two who are retiring this year after decades of teaching. Jerry Levy, sociologist and educator for 37 years, who contributes in so many ways as an author, actor, and annual political candidate. Jerry. Paul Nelson, who taught and created theater at Marlboro for 35 years, known internationally as a Shakespeare scholar who upholds our high standards in the literature of theater and in production. Paul? For visiting professors Brian Mooney and Helen Lewis, for 4 fellows who became part of our community, Jean-Martin Albert, mathematics, Renee Bird, social sciences, Evelyn Richardson, classics fellow for Latin and Greek, and Catherine Siller, Andrew W. Mellon Foundation fellow in the digital arts. For the college staff who coached and encouraged and even employed you. Now orals are over, the party barge has set sail, and soon you'll be clearing out, rolling down the hill to Brattleboro, or leaving us for graduate school, jobs, or a future still to be imagined. What to say about you as a class? You're kind of elusive. Some of you are graduating after being at Marlboro for 2 years, some for 6 years. You span ages 21 to 65. Two of you are veterans, part of our Marlboro tradition. I heard some of you speak up at town meeting, part of the ardent debates, from smoking to the pet policy. Maybe you're the policy debate class. Surviving the storm Irene, along with Vermont, some of you witnessed Governor Shumlin land by helicopter on our soccer field. You trudged through long winters on Potash Hill. More than a third of you studied abroad in 21 different countries. One of you is a World Studies graduate. All of you started your Marlboro experience with a Bridges trip, part of the Ken Schneck era. 4 of you earned certificates in TESOL, teaching English to speakers of other languages, or nonprofit management from our graduate programs. You studied at Marlboro during the era of the Great Recession. If you read or watched the news, you were deluged by the national debate, doubts about the job market, about student debt, even about the value of a college degree. between the lines, I hope you learn that you can expect to be better employed at higher wages than Americans without this degree. But is that the only reason you went to college and worked this hard? You've been living in Vermont, which I like to call the last sane place. In the Shumlin era, our education governor, the product of a liberal arts education. You went to college in the Obama era, 2 historic elections in which you got to vote. Now, most of you know that I'm a partisan, but I have an argument with President Obama and his Department of Education. There's something called the White House scorecard that purports to measure the value and performance of colleges. Here's what it measures: net price, graduation rate, loan default rate, median borrowed, the type of job and salary earned after graduation. See the trend? It's all about money. We need to redefine ROI, return on investment. What about the other returns? The return on the individual, the return on community. Research reveals that the person with a college degree not only earns more, but is more likely to vote, to give to her favorite causes, and to volunteer. You are graduating with a degree that is most connected to exercise of choice, a degree in the liberal arts. Why do we use that term? Our classics fellow could tell us the derivation from the Greek and Latin. Liberal comes from the word for free. From medieval times until recent history, universities taught prescribed courses thought to constitute the knowledge worthy of a free man. And until not long ago, such an education was for men. But our sense of liberal is liberation, that we might become liberated by an education in the service of human freedom. So says scholar William Cronin in his 1998 article in The American Scholar. What makes a liberally educated person? It's not a transfusion of facts or content, but rather a set of skills and qualities. To paraphrase Cronin, they are to listen and to hear, knowing how to pay attention, to follow an argument, to read and to understand, to write clearly and persuasively, to solve a variety of problems, to respect rigor as a way of seeking truth, to love learning, to practice humility, tolerance, and self-criticism, opening yourself to different perspectives, to understand how things get done in the world, to nurture and empower the people around you, recognizing that no one acts alone, to only connect. Cronin uses E.M. Forster's phrase, the ability to see the connections that allow one to make sense of the world and act creatively within it. Is this sounding familiar? It should. I think I just described the qualities of your Marlboro education. I've lavished some of our last moments together on these to make Cronin's final point. Education for human freedom is also education for human community. In other words, for the social good, the culture of connection. Now that we've lived in this Marlboro community together for a while, I've learned from you. Recently, you told me that our point of view is that we have a strong point of view. We need more community spirit. Don't lose traditions like apple days, work days, broom ball, midnight breakfast, and the community photo. I stayed because of my professors. They really care. And you said, Marlboro presumes tremendous individual capacity and responsibility. That's what Education for Liberation teaches. Why don't we have a scorecard for becoming an educated citizen? And yes, we also want you to find a satisfying job or get into a good graduate school, including our own. Take all those skills you gained researching, organizing, and writing your plan. Know how you solved problems every day, how you followed creative possibilities, and with confidence and joy, believe in yourself and your powers as a liberated and liberating citizen. This is your era. Know this too. You will always have a home here at the beautiful village on the hill. Thank you. Thank you. Now, it is my great pleasure to present our senior speaker, actor and director, Evan Lamb.
President McCullough-Lovell, Mr. Nisper, Governor Shumlin, assembled professors, trustees, and staff, assorted guests, family, and friends, it is an honor to speak for the class of 2013, and I hope you'll indulge me for a moment while I take this opportunity to say, we made it. We climbed this whole mountain, folks, and the best part is that 10, 15, 20 years from now, this is gonna seem like a day hike. But for right now, we've climbed a mountain, and from the summit, we feel powerful and vibrant, and base camp looks so tiny from here. While it's only been 4 years since I met the other folks on my Bridges trip, that equates to a little less than 1/5 of my life. I know that percentage is a little bit different for some of us, Mr. Paulette. Yes. In that time, I've wriggled through caves too small to fit through with a full lung of air, mastered the art of biking over ice and snow, crashed several bicycles into the side of the dining hall at top speed, sweated bullets through the seminar in religion, literature, and philosophy, whipped up an apple pie during a power outage, fenced and won a few bouts with a martial arts master, exhausted myself to the point of hallucination in order to complete assignments, gotten lost on the town trail in the middle of the night without a flashlight or a shirt, been formally evicted from 2 buildings on campus, and somehow managed to come out of it with no broken bones and a completed plan of concentration. Now, as you may not have guessed from my clever use of a fraction earlier when I said 1/5, I'm not a math student. But I'd bet money that every senior here has a laundry list of Marlboro experiences just as impressive as mine, if not more so. We've invested a lot of personal energy into our time here, and for me, every bruise, busted joint, and late night hallucination has been worth it. Marlboro College, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for making it so. I'm grateful in particular for this opportunity to speak for and to the class of 2013. Our graduation truly represents the end of an era. I'm referring, of course, to the era of too many people with the same name. In just a short time, the plurality of Evans will be a memory, and Evan Sachs, Evan Lozier, and I will never be confused again. Sam Osiello, also graduating, will leave Sam Bass and Sedma Judson to duke it out over name rights. And Noah Farley, also graduating, will be extracted from the surplus of Noahs, although I'm not sure that Noah Bedford or Noah Woods ever took a class with Noah Farley, as was the case when I wound up in an electronic music class with Evan Lozier and Evan Sachs that one year. Prospective parents, take note, coordinate so that this doesn't happen again. Perhaps it's because there are so many people here who share a common marker of identity, or perhaps it's because I've met some of my most treasured friends and allies in my time here. But I feel very attached to this group of people, all of you enrolled at Marlboro, who have come to graduate or witness your fellow students graduate today. At this time, which feels so much like a parting of ways, I encourage you to celebrate how close we've become, to feel the strength of our interconnectedness, and to know that the bonds we formed are truly valuable. Take a moment to remember some vivid Marlboro presences from previous years. Everyone wearing a gown right now can rattle off the names of a few people they met at or in connection with Marlboro who changed their lives. Emily Kimball, Charlie Schneeweiss, Simon Moody, and Courtney Kanzler all jump to my mind. I can't imagine where I'd be without the Marlboro students, faculty, and staff who were with me when I was a freshman. And whenever I bring them up in a conversation and I'm answered with, "Who's that?" I'm struck with the strangest feeling, a mix of nostalgia and sadness for those who have never met the people who brought such joy into my life. I hope that the class of 2013 has left its impact such that we are remembered so. I know for a fact that Paul Nelson and Jerry Levy, both retiring after many years of service, and Ken Schneck, who is off to explore new opportunities at Baldwin Wallace University, will leave a lasting reverberation of presence that will affect Marlboro for years to come. Right now, I'm standing at the top of my own personal mountain, and it feels like a tiny apotheosis. But the practical, survival-oriented part of my brain knows that the future looms tall in front of me, and to speak frankly, I am terrified of it. Soon I will come to the parts of the world that need fixing, and I will need to find shelter and sustenance to keep going. But I'm anything but alone. And now that I've proved myself to myself, now that I'm hearing "I told you so" from the people who once said you can do it, the next step isn't looking so shaky, and I can turn to face the future, look back over my shoulder, and tell all of you in my best action movie voice, "Let's do this." I'm about as much a fan of quotations in general as I am of student loan debt. But I would like to end with a short saying from Henri Frédéric Amiel, a Swiss philosopher whose words have stuck with me for a long time. I hope that you'll take them to heart as we celebrate today and wish Godspeed to the class of 2013. Dear friends, we know that life is short, and we do not have much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel with us. So be swift to love, and make haste to be kind. Thank you.
And now I invite Chairman Nissaper and Julie Johnson-Kidd to join me at the podium.
As president of the Christian A. Johnson Endeavor Foundation for more than 3 decades, your caring generosity has inspired the higher education community. Like your father, who started the Family Foundation in 1952, you take personal pleasure from nurturing the curiosity and intellectual development of young people. Starting with your bachelor's degree in art from Middlebury College, you have been active in supporting the liberal arts through your participation in philanthropy. You have served on the boards of trustees of several colleges in the United States and Europe, as well as the Trust for Mutual Understanding. You were instrumental in launching the European College of Liberal Arts and the International School of Liberal Arts, championing the growth of liberal arts in post-communist Europe. As if that's not good enough, you were the founding trustee of the National Museum of the American Indian and chairman of the High Foundation's Museum of American Indian in New York. You have received the James Smithson Medal from the Smithsonian Institution, the Council of Independent Colleges Award for Volunteerism and Philanthropy, and the University of Warsaw's Medal of Honor. You have said, "We must develop an unquenchable curiosity about the world around us, for in that curiosity we find our passions and we find new solutions two seemingly intractable problems. In the book, Declining by Degrees, Higher Education at Risk, where you submit that American higher education has lost its bearings, you say, pockets of excellence do exist, particularly amongst the small liberal arts colleges, where some students are transformed and broadened in thrilling ways. We hope that some of the students you meet today and their thrilling transformations embolden your optimism in this regard.
I have no doubt that will happen.
Your support of Marlboro College over the years has helped tremendously during important transitions in alumni and admissions programming, expanded curriculum and international study opportunities, and created the Christian A. Johnson Endeavor Faculty Chair in the Visual Arts. Julie Johnson Kidd, for your dedication to the life of the mind and spirit, in keeping with the mission of Marlboro College, it is our pleasure to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters.
And now I invite Liana News and Felix Gerard to the stage for a musical interlude. Thank you, Leanna and Felix. That was beautiful. Now, may I please ask Dean Nisseper and Governor Peter Shumlin to join me at the podium. For 30 years, your dedication to public service has exhilarated Vermonters and those who love our state. We celebrate your special commitment to education as an integral part of Vermont's bright future. You were born and raised in the neighboring town of Putney, of parents who were educational entrepreneurs and who launched Putney Student Travel Agency in their renovated barn. Although as a child, you, as you like to say, learned differently. Your work with inspired teachers sparked a lifelong engagement with education. You graduated from Wesleyan University, took over the family business with your brother Jeff, and starting at the age of 24, served as a select board member in Putney. There you championed the founding of Landmark College, designed for students with learning differences, over a rival plan to build a prison. You served 3 years in the Vermont House of Representatives and then 8 terms as state senator, including leading the Senate as president pro tem before being elected governor in 2010 and then again in 2012. Through your years of service, education has been a central theme of your ambitious agenda, along with creating jobs, controlling healthcare costs, and making crucial investments in Vermont's renewable energy future. You have said that Vermont, quote, could provide the brain power, make the products, and seize the job opportunities in a lower carbon economy requires. You were the first sitting governor in the United States to preside over a same-sex wedding ceremony. You may be the first to be nearly mauled by bears, joking that you were within 3 feet of getting "arr." You are convinced, and have been very convincing, that Vermont can become known nationally as the education state in the coming years, asserting that Vermont's education system is the state's greatest economic development tool. In your inaugural address this year, you called for the creation of a Vermont Strong Scholars Program, supporting students who stay to work in the state. You have a deep appreciation of the liberal arts, having fostered the global perspective that is in our mission statement. Peter Shumlin, you are keenly aware of the talents Marlboro graduates possess and the importance of utilizing these precious skills in a democratic society. For your support of higher education and many other social and environmental concerns aligned with the mission of Marlboro, it is our honor to confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters. It is my great honor to present your commencement speaker, Governor Peter Shumlin.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I'm so honored. I'm humbled to receive an honorary degree with someone of the caliber as my fellow Dr. Johnson Kidd. Thank you for joining us. To the class of 2013, to the moms and dads and brothers and sisters and uncles and aunts and significant others that helped get them here, as one who's paying 2 college tuitions, I know how relieved you feel today. To the extraordinary faculty and staff, and special tribute to Jerry Levy and Paul Nelson, my friends, and for their extraordinary contribution to Marlboro. To the best college president that one could ever ask for, congratulations. To the Board of Trustees, this does such an extraordinary job of supporting this extraordinary little school. I'm honored to be here with the 59 graduates, all of whom have accomplished amazing and creative things while here at Marlboro. You're a group of students who rejected traditional ways of doing things. Creative, entrepreneurial, motivated, curious. You've passed oral exams and in-depth study plans in multiple areas. You've passed, and you're a group of critical thinkers who have said yes to a way of learning that only Marlboro offers. That's why I'm so honored to be your graduation speaker. To be succeeding and graduating from Marlboro, you've already demonstrated the attributes which will contribute and be so important for your future and for ours. There's no way around a graduation speech with the essential message of the future is yours. Make the most of it. No matter what one does, phrases like seize opportunity, live with purpose, and make a difference unavoidably creep into graduation speeches. Frankly, they should. You straddle a moment in life right now, and the choices you make from here on out will affect not only you and the course of your life, but your community and our world. This is a moment to be reminded of that responsibility, even as you are celebrated for the hard work and your achievement so far. But what might be most helpful, in my opinion, is to help you in a way to recognize the biggies, the key individuals and moments in your life that if you just say yes to them, will make all the difference. Just like you said yes to a different sort of education at Marlboro, which Marlboro has now given you. It's a small and extraordinary college, and it's offered you big things because it has clung to its smallness. In deliberate defiance of our national obsession, where growth is so often trumps quality, smallness harnesses Marlboro. Here we stand today in the Henry Z. Persons Auditorium, whose name blesses this hall where you've graduated today, or graduating today. And he had a quirky phrase that I'll always remember, which he spoke often, and his phrase defined him, and in fact it defines Marlboro. He used to often say, "Blessed be smallness. Blessed be smallness." Henry Z. Persons was the president of a little bank here, First Vermont Bank. And you couldn't start anything in Windham County entrepreneurial without his blessing. He believed in blessed be smallness to the point where when you walked into First Vermont Bank on Main Street in Brattleboro, he was the first person sitting there at the desk to greet you. Imagine bankers doing that today. And he made great things happen as a result of not only his belief in smallness, but also his belief in people, small people, to do great things. But that phrase comes to mind today as I look out on the class of 2013, who had the wisdom to see the benefits of the smallness of this place and say yes to it. After you leave here, you're going to hit a lot of no's in your life, and you'll be tempted at times to say no, mostly because it's often easier, sometimes because you don't recognize the consequences, sometimes because others stand in your way and tell you that no is the right answer. I'm here to remind you that you will get more out of your life and give more to the rest of us through your yeses than you will through your nos. I want to share a few of my own stories from my life as I remember them, which means they might not necessarily be accurate, in the hope that they might help you see some of your opportunities and some of your opportunities to say yes. As Ellen McCullough-Level just mentioned, I learn differently, and I am dyslexic. I had a terrible time learning how to read. I'll never forget being called into the classroom in the the principal's office, I should say, in the early 60s in this great state. That was before we had special education. That's before we had individualized plans. And I got called in, and my parents were sitting in a principal's office with the principal. And I couldn't imagine what I had done wrong that day. I looked at the principal, he looked at me, he looked at my parents, he then pretended I wasn't there, and he said, "We can't seem to teach this kid how to read. We don't know what's wrong with him. He's not going to go to college. He's not going to have a professional career, but we'll do the best we can." And they sent me back to class. That's how we did it here in the 60s. And I had a single teacher who became Teacher of the Year. Her name was Claire Oglesby. Many of you, including Lisa Mertens, who's sitting here, knew her well. And she saw something in me that other people didn't see. And she asked me if I would like to go home with her after school because she wanted to teach me how to read. Now, the easiest path would have been to say no. But I said yes. And I loaded into her Willie's Jeep at the end of school, and we'd drive up Windmill Hill Road in Westminster West to her small log cabin where she lived with her teacher husband, Matt. And I just want to remind the class of 2013 that while I'm old and wrinkled and getting gray, not everybody lived in log cabins then. And in the warm weather, we'd sit around her wood stove, and in cold weather, warm weather, we'd sit in the lawn, cold weather on a wood stove, and she slowly and methodically, over a year and a half, taught me how to read. All I can say is that was one single teacher, seeing something in one single kid. And you know, I got elected governor with the biggest class of governors in the history of America, new governors. It was in 2010. It was the same election that elected Tea Party Congress people, and I'm one of the few Democrats, new Democrats, that got elected in 2010. And and all I can tell you is that it really helps as a governor to be able to read. And as I listened to my fellow Tea Party governors and got to know them and heard their ideas on labor and economic development, tax policy, women's rights, reproductive rights, and climate change and others, one might think that they can't read, but they can. And it helps. So all I can say is the power of that single teacher, Claire Oglesby, to say yes to one single student, blessed by that blessedly small log cabin, made a difference. Ellen also mentioned my involvement in Landmark College. I never intended to run for elected office. When I came back to Windham County from college, I came back to build a business and to make a difference for kids by sending them all over the world to build schools and houses in places that needed help. And the founder of Marlboro College, a remarkable man named Walter Hendricks, founded a number of colleges. This is the one that lasted. But one of them was Windham College. And it's an interesting story, and I'll be brief. Paul Nelson could tell it better than I. But Windham College sprouted up in the 60s when, if you didn't want to go to Vietnam, you went to college. And it started in downtown Putney. They quickly outgrew the buildings in downtown Putney because of the college deferment during the war. And they decided they'd build a new college. President Johnson at that time was passing out U.S. Department of Education money because Johnson saw something that the rest of American politicians often don't, which is that there is no better jobs policy than education. And he was doling out the loot. Now, Windham needed a campus. So I think, as Paul and others will tell you, they had their grounds people, as we do it in Vermont. The staff does most everything in colleges. They put together some plans. They sent them down to the Department of Education. They were on a tight timeline. And the Department of Education looked at the plans, wondered why there were no stairways to get from the first to second floor, why the plans didn't make much sense, and they sent them back with a reject. That got them down to just a few days. And some wise board member, like you have sitting here in the front row, said, I know a guy named Edward Durrell Stone. He designed the Kennedy Center, the National Geographic offices in DC, and I bet he might be able to help. So they called him. And he said, yeah, I got a plan. I've got a design I did for a campus out in Arizona. And he set it up. They submitted it. It was approved. And that's why we have a campus in Vermont with flat roofs that leak in the winter. So, to cut a long story short, because we want to get on to the diplomas, when it went bankrupt, it leaked, and it leaked, and it leaked, and it was a mess. And the Department of Education, in their wisdom, sold the land between the buildings to a junk bond dealer in New York. Anyway, the federal government decided one day, well, we'll know what we'll do. We'll start a federal penitentiary there, a federal maximum security prison. And a bunch of us didn't think that was such a great idea. So we called up St. Patrick Leahy, who's still protecting us. And he got the Department of Prisons to agree that if the town had a town meeting style vote, which they'd never heard of in Washington, D.C., of course, and the town voted against it, they wouldn't come. But they were so sure that they'd vote yes. Anyway, the select board supported it. It was a 3-member select men board then. And everyone supported it kind of in the local government. So we got knocking on doors and got around, and we defeated it in the vote 95% to 5. We said no to the federal prison. But don't clap yet, because that was the easy part. That's my point. It's easy to say no in life. So a bunch of people said, you know, Peter, you better run for the board of select people, men, then. Because if you don't, those same guys are going to come back next year with a prison, and this time they're going to be smart enough not to adhere to the town-wide vote. You know how democracy works. So I did. I ran and I won. And I made a promise to the people that elected me that I would try my best. I would try my best to bring an educational institution to that leaking, rotting campus. Now, that was before the internet, you know. Again, log cabins, no internet. So I was reading the Boston Globe one day, and there was a little article in the back, and it said, "Landmark School, Pride's Crossing, Massachusetts, specializes in dyslexic education," which kind of interested me. Wanted to start a college. So we went down, and we made the sale to the board. Long and short of it is, after a long and complicated and really tough process, it was hard work, Landmark College came to be. First nation in a college solely dedicated to educating people like me. So we did it. It was harder to say yes than it was to say no. But think of all the dyslexic kids and all the kids with learning differences who sat somewhere many, many times in their life and told they were never going to college, they were never going to have a career, and there they are getting degrees at Landmark. Ellen also mentioned marriage equality. So shortly thereafter, I got appointed by Governor Kunin to the legislature. I had no real intention in going there either. But while there, in an evolution of time, something happened that is touching right now the rest of America. We decided, for whatever reason, because Vermont's the best place on earth to live, that we wanted everybody in our tent, not just some of the people. I know that in parts of America still that's hard to achieve. But we're Vermonters, and we care, and we reach out, and we trust. So, over a course of time, we passed the first law, which I was proud to help sponsor, that granted marriage rights, sort of, we called it civil unions, to people who wanted to declare their love for each other for the rest of their lives. And that was a tough thing to do. Other politicians for a long time had been saying no. In fact, they didn't even say no. They wouldn't engage in a conversation. And when I first heard about it, I thought, really? You know, you all want to get married? I mean, if you're loading, I was on a transportation committee then, and I thought, you know, if you're loading lots of people onto a bridge that you got to get across, and half are falling into the river, what the hell do you want to load more people onto it for? And it wasn't until I heard the stories. I heard about the moms, and the dads and the dads, dropping their kids off at school with my kids, that I realized, yeah, of course they want the same rights as everybody else. And we did it in Vermont. Then 10 years later, I was proud to sponsor the first marriage equality bill in the nation that passed not with a judge's order, not because of a black robe, but because Vermonters just thought it was the right thing to do in our small way, where we say yes instead of no. And now look, last week it was Minnesota. The week before it was Rhode Island. The short time before that it was Maryland, New York, New Hampshire. We're going to pass it in every single state in America because it's the right thing to do, but it started right here. Small, blessed be smallness. Say yes, not no. So now we got more yeses to do, and I know we do. Right now I'm trying to lift another big one, where the rest of the nation will come along when we get it right. But we're trying to pass the first sensible single-payer health care system in America, right here in Vermont. And we'll do it with the same dogged determination that we went to the log cabin with to learn how to read, and we'll succeed. And health care will be a right and not a privilege like it is in the rest of the developed world. It's not that tough. So I ask you, enough about me, what opportunities are you going to have to say yes in your lives, and how the heck are you going to recognize them? It requires faith in a better future, even when the future seems undeniably bleak. Last week, for those of you that wanted a downer before your graduation, if you read the New York Times story on climate change, it should remind us of our responsibility to make the preservation of the future of this beautiful planet part of our yeses and not so much part of the no's. They reported, as many of you know, for the first time ever, our CO2 levels in the atmosphere are 400 parts per million. Just a number, I suppose, but happens to be the first time in over 3 million years that we've had that much CO2s in our environment. When we land back here in a chopper, and Marlboro, the little town of Marlboro, has people living in total isolation and despair because 12 inches of rain get dumped on this little community in ways that we've never seen before. Whether it's Irene, or for those of you from downcountry, Sandy, or any of the other climate-induced catastrophes, they're just a little warning, a little teeny window into the future for the class of 2013's children and grandchildren. So we know we can't move fast enough, and we've got to speed it up. But you all have the courage and the vision to define for us a carbon-free future with the imaginations and the power to say yes that Marlboro has instilled in you. Now, you probably sit there and say, well, that's easy for a governor to say, you know, and we left you one heck of a mess, and we have. But I want to close with two quick stories that remind me of your opportunity. I want to say it was 10 or 12 or 14 years ago that a good friend of mine who lives just over the hill here in Dummerston, a guy named Will Ackerman, and like many of you, or at least some of you, he had no idea what he was going to do after college. So he got in his Ford truck and he headed to Los Angeles, and he started playing music. And he played on the back of the truck, and he had a little can there, and he got what he could. Some radio station heard him, and they liked him. They started putting him on. Anyway, to make a long story short, he became something known as Windham Hill Music. Paul Nelson's sons worked for him for years. Anyway, it was successful, and it was beautiful music, and they beamed it all over the world. I was having dinner with him maybe 15 years ago, a few glasses of wine, and he said, I'm selling my business. I said, why, Will? You're young, and you love it, and it loves you, and it defines you. He said, well, I was over in Japan recently, talking to the engineers at Sony, and they say that they now have the capacity. Of course, don't forget, going back to the log cabin, we were listening to CDs at that time, and we thought that was high tech, all right? Like, that was the moment. We moved from the cassette player to the CDs, and we were paying big money for a CD. And he said, you know, they've got the technology now to download music onto a little chip, and you're going to carry it on something in your pocket that communicates everything that you do, including music, and it's going to be free. And I couldn't imagine it. In my wildest dreams, I couldn't imagine it, but he could. And he sold the company while the going was still good. The only reason I'm telling you that story is, when it comes to fighting climate change, your opportunity is to find the chip 100 or 1,000 or 2,000 times. When you're a governor, at least me, maybe because I'm a dyslexic governor, but I never know where I'm going until about 11:30 the night before. And my extraordinary staff, 3 or 4 people, work on this all day long. They shoot me a little email, and it comes up on my iPhone, and I look, and I see where I'm going. So a couple of weeks ago, I got one of those, and I looked at it, and I yell at the iPhone at night because I'm tired. We get up early, and we work late. And the iPhone understands me, and I understand it. So I look, and it says, last stop, a dinner just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire, at someone's house that I'd never heard of. And I said, really? You know, you get up at 5, you go to bed at 11:30. I got to go to New Hampshire for dinner to some guy's house I never heard of. Why? Why do I have to do that? You know, and the iPhone didn't say anything back to me. So I got madder. I said, you know, I'm the only Democratic governor in America who's not running for president. Why the hell do I have to go to New Hampshire? So anyway, we pull into the driveway. I shouldn't say driveway because we don't build driveways like this in Vermont, but the gate's open, and we drive up the hill. And we get up on top, and there's a big house, a big energy-sucking house like people do when they make too much money. And it was a hexagon, and it was actually quite beautiful. It was built of Vermont stone and Vermont lumber, even though it was in New Hampshire. He has good taste. Anyway, the guy's name was Dean Kamen, so I go through the front door, and it's filled with corporate-looking people and my good friend Governor Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire. Great governor. So I don't still know why I'm there, but I ate the food, and I had the cocktail, and the guy who owns the place, his name is Dean Kamen. I bet your mind goes blank like mine did. A few of you might have heard of him. But anyway, he's a small, very enthusiastic guy, and he's talking a mile a minute. And he starts taking us around. He has 400 engineers in Manchester, New Hampshire. And he starts showing us the holiday gifts. Every year they build him a gift. And some of them are pretty extraordinary. One of them was a cherry, beautiful cherry chest. And in it hung a light bulb. But the light bulb wasn't attached to anything. It was just suspended in the air. And you could run your hand between the light bulb and whatever powered it, and it just stayed on, and it didn't drop. So I said to Dean Kamen, you know, like, what do you do? How did you get here? What's going on here? And he said, I'm an inventor. I've got 1,800 patents. I said, well, what kind of things? He said, well, you got any illness in your family? I said, sure. I said, my brother is a juvenile diabetic. He said, he's on the pump? I said, yeah, he's on the pump. He said, I built that. So he started telling me the other things he's built. And, you know, I was getting kind of interested. And he ran his hand under the light bulb, didn't drop. He said, but if you make medical equipment, you don't want the bulb to break because people die. So he kicks off the power, and the light bulb gets sucked up into the socket and stays until the power goes back on. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with anything, except that he took us into his basement. And in his basement was a box. And the box looked about the size of a dehumidifier. And there were all these corporate guys from a company called NRG Systems there, not our little Vermont one, but the big guys. And the CEO. And he starts showing us the box. And the box can be powered by anything. Cow manure, wood chips, natural gas, whatever you got. And it uses a teeny amount of power to power this house that's 15 or 16 times of all the houses that we live in. And it provides the power, the heat, and all of the energy. Bill Gates had been in looking at it the night before. Here's the point. They think that they found a way to power the world. And I turned to the CEO of Energy Systems. I said, what are you doing here? Ain't this your nightmare? He said, why do you think I'm here? I just signed the exclusive to distribute these things. They envision a world in the next decade like Will Ackerman had the vision for free music. No more transmission lines. No more big generation. Your power is going to be bought at the hardware store in a box. And you can power it with whatever the heck you like, particularly if it doesn't emit carbon. So, you know, maybe they will and maybe they won't. Maybe they'll succeed and maybe they don't. But here's the point. Blessed be smallness, that little box. Dean came and said, yes. I sat down next to him at dinner, and he had all of the qualities and ingredients as I talked to him of a dyslexic. So I said to him, do you learn differently? He said, yeah. How do you know? I said, I can smell them. That's why God gave me this nose. He said, I couldn't get through college. He said, I still have trouble reading. I reverse my B's and my D's, so it takes me a long time to read. But I just want to make a difference. And so that leads us to the point. There has never been a generation of graduates who's had a bigger responsibility to make a difference, to say yes, to blessed be smallness by thinking small while we do big things. Because the future of the planet depends on it, and that's kind of a big one. Believe it or not, that's not a reality that we lived with when we were graduating from college. So take the gift that Marlboro has given you, bless it, it's small, and do big things with it by saying yes. Thank you so much for including me today.
As Dean of Faculty, it is my honor to announce the recipients of Marlboro's academic prizes. As I read the names of our award recipients, I ask that everyone hold their applause until all the recipients have been announced, and I know that's really, really hard. We'll try our best, right? I'll ask that each student, as their name is announced, please stand and remain standing until all prizes have been awarded. The Rebecca Willow Prize, established in 2008 in memory of Rebecca Willow, class of 1995, is awarded to a student whose presence brings personal integrity and kindness to the community and who unites an interest in human history and culture with a passion for the natural world. And the recipient is Evan Sachs. The Audrey Alley Gorton Award is given in memory of Audrey Gorton, Marlboro alumna and member of the faculty for 33 years, to the student who best reflects the Gorton qualities of passion for reading and independence of critical judgment, fastidious attention to matters of style, and a gift for intelligent conversation. And there are two recipients, Alexia Boggs and Jessie Nesser. The Hilly Van Loan Prize, established by the class of 2000 in honor of Hilly Van Loan, Marlboro class of 1962, and staff member for 23 years, is given to the senior who best reflects Hilly's wisdom, compassion, community involvement, quiet dedication to the spirit of Marlboro College, joy in writing, and celebration of life. And before I announce that, I hear Hilly is here today, yes? And the Hilly Van Loan Prize goes to Molly Booth. The William Davison Prize, created by the Town Meeting Select Board and named in honor of Will Davison, who served as a faculty member for 18 years and as a trustee for 22 years, is awarded to one or more students for extraordinary contributions to the Marlboro community. And there are two recipients, Cora Lively and Elliot Samuel Lamb. The Ryan Larson Memorial Prize was established in 2006 in memory of Ryan Jeffrey Larson, who felt transformed by the opportunities to learn and grow within the embrace of the Marlboro College community. It is awarded annually to a junior or senior who best reflects Ryan's qualities of philosophical curiosity, creativity, compassion, and spiritual inquiry. And there are two recipients, Vivian Gay and Michael Schneeweiss. The Helen W. Clark Prize is awarded by the Visual Arts faculty for the best plan of concentration in the fine arts. This award has been supported by the generosity of faculty emerita Willeen Clark in honor of her mother. Willeen's colleagues from the visual arts and across the college have donated new funds to ensure that this prize will continue into the future. Willeen is with us today, and before we present the award, we want to honor her long service to the college and the community as she leaves her home in Marlboro to return to her native state of South Carolina. And the co-winners for the Helen W. Clark Prize are Edward Ned White and Tristan Dirk Stam. The Sally and Valerio Montanari Theater Prize is awarded annually to a graduating senior who has made the greatest overall contribution to the pursuit of excellence in theater production, and the recipient is Evan Lamb. The Dr. Lauren C. Bronson Award for Excellence in Classics, established by the family of Lauren Bronson, class of 1973, is awarded to encourage undergraduate work in classics. And the recipient is Angelica Crone. The Roland Boyden Prize is given by the Humanities faculty to a student who has demonstrated excellence in the humanities. Roland Boyden was a founding faculty member of the college, acting president, dean, and trustee. And there are three recipients, Amé Latour, Maria Delaney, and Nikki Hogg. The Buck Turner Prize is awarded to a student who demonstrates excellence in the natural sciences, who uses interdisciplinary approaches, and who places his or her work in the context of larger questions. And there are two recipients, Tristan Dirk Stam and Chad Daniels. The Freshman-Sophomore Essay Prize is given annually for the best essay written for a Marlboro course. And the recipient is Liza Mitrofanova for her essay, Cancer Curing Cankers, or The Mysterious Life of Mycelial Growth. The Robert H. MacArthur Prize was established in 1973 in memory of Robert MacArthur, class of 1951, and recently rededicated to Robert and also to John and Robert's parents, John and Olive MacArthur, who founded the science program at Marlboro College. The contest for the prize is in the form of a question or a challenge offered to the entire student community. And I think John MacArthur is here, yes? I saw him. And there are a number of prizes that go with this. First prize to Cordelia Fuller. Second prize to Felix Gerard. Third prize is shared by Kelsa Summer and the Tonifers, a student a cappella group including Kelsey Gibson, Cara Hamilton, Amelia Brown, Jen Dudley, Noah Bedford, Eric Schmidt-Nielsen, Jay Sayer, Karen Walton, and Erica Klemper, with the assistance of Shannon Coco. Honorable mention goes to Fifilo Aganga, Amber Claxton, and Dane Fredericks. And then last but not least, the Robert E. Engel Award, established in 2011 in honor of Bob Engel, Marlboro faculty member for 36 years, is awarded to a student who demonstrates Bob's passion for the natural world and his keen powers of observation and inquiry as a natural historian. And I saw Bob come down the hill. And the recipient of the Robert E. Engel Award is Eric Dennis. On behalf of the faculty, I want to offer congratulations to all of our award recipients.
think it's time to say yes. You ready? E. Joy Osiello, Bachelor of Arts. Anthropology and Environmental Studies, Communal Sustainability, a study of the relationship between sustainability and community living using ethnographic writing and formal assessment systems. Sponsors, Carol Hendrickson, Matthew Aulis. Outside evaluator, Gwendolyn Hall-Smith, Director of Planning and Community Development, City of Montpelier. Sam Osiello, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science, Programming Languages, a broad study of computer science with a focus on programming languages. Sponsor, Jim Mahoney, outside evaluator, Brant Karowski, Logic Branch Productions, LLC. Alexa C. Boggs, Bachelor of Arts, Politics. An experiment in analyzing the role of deliberation, focusing on the Supreme Court and the fate of Muammar Gaddafi. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Lynette Rummel, outside evaluator, Scott McLean, Quinnipiac University. Taylor Monique Burrows, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Sociology, Conflict Studies, an exploration of the social and political roots of genocide in Yugoslavia and Rwanda, with a subsequent examination of the major impediments to humanitarian intervention at the United Nations. Sponsors, Lynette Rummel, Dana Howell, Jerry Levy. Outside evaluator, James Walker, Keene State College. Thea Cabreros, Bachelor of Arts, Photography and Literature, a comparison of Fyodor Dostoevsky's and Albert Camus' ethical views and a photographic consideration of unity and paradox. Sponsors, John Willis, Geraldine Pittman de Baget. Outside evaluator, Jonathan Gittleson, Keene State College. Caitlin Rose Charles, Bachelor of Arts, TESOL certificate, Environmental Studies, Religion and Psychology, an investigation of the causes and possible solutions to the current environmental crisis through the lens of psychology, religion, and environmental studies. Sponsors, Amr Latif, Thomas Tolino, Jennifer Ramstetter. Outside evaluator, Joseph Markowski, Green Mountain College. Zachary Andrew Chilcote, Bachelor of Arts in International Studies, Asian Studies, Contemporary Chinese Society, a series of papers discussing power dynamics and social mobility in contemporary urban Beijing. Internship, Beijing, China. Sponsor, Seth Harder, Grant Lee. Outside evaluator, Suzanne Zhang Gottschong, Smith College. Alexandra Campoli, Bachelor of Arts, History, Medieval Studies and Literature, Medieval Literature, an investigation into the ever-shifting lines between religious orthodoxy, fanaticism, and the heretical in the late medieval period, with a focus on Elizabeth of Spalbeck, the Beguines, and English mystical traditions. Sponsors, Adam Franklin Lyons, Richard Glazier, outside evaluator, Susan Wade, Keene State College. Joan Michelle Coles, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology and Biochemistry. An examination of depression considering diagnosis, therapeutic treatment, and antidepressant medication. Sponsors Thomas Tolino, Todd Smith, outside evaluator Nels Kloster, psychiatrist. Emily L. Cox, Bachelor of Arts, Theater, Music, and American Studies, Musical Theater, and exploration of musical theater as part of American culture, with particular attention given to the role of musical theater in secondary education. Sponsors Paul Nelson, Catherine Radcliffe, outside evaluator Edward Isser, College of the Holy Cross. Chad Daniels, Bachelor of Science, Physics and Computer Science, Computational Physics, a study of the principles of statistical and quantum mechanics with a focus on their role in systems of many particles. Sponsors, Sarah Salimbeni, Jim Mahoney, outside evaluator, Juan Bortiana, Mount Holyoke College. Morgan Elise Donhoff, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Visual Arts, a critical analysis of Sylvia Plath's stylized poetics, and a series of related artworks. Sponsors Heather Clark, Tim Seeger, outside evaluator Joanne Hayes, Greenfield Community College. I should say that Zach and Morgan were January graduates who weren't able to return, but we honor them as part of the class. Isaac Dupree, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science, Collaborative Programming, an inquiry into collaborative programming through a series of essays and coding projects. Sponsors Jim Mahoney, John Sheehy, Carol Hendrickson, outside evaluator Andrew Cencini, Bennington College. Isaac. Noah Joseph Farley, Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Visual Arts, an exploration of comics and graphic novels as unique art objects that combine literature and visual artistry in equal measure. Sponsors, Gloria Biamonte, Kathy Osman, outside evaluator, John Chajurian, the Center for Cartoon Studies. Shiloh Fawn Favreau, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts and Biology, Apiology, and exploration of bees through visual arts and biology, including bee ecology, conservation, and architecture. Sponsors, Timothy Seeger, Jennifer Ramstetter, outside evaluator, Mary Lum, Bennington College. Dane Fredericks, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, an examination of the theme of escape in American literature, focusing on Mark Twain, Flannery O'Connor, and Cormac McCarthy. Sponsors, John Sheehy, Gloria Biamonte, outside evaluator, Martha Ackman, Mount Holyoke College. Esperanza Friel, Bachelor of Arts, Dance, Choreography, and Writing, Short Fiction, a study of narrative in both fiction and dance. Sponsors, Kristen Horrigan, Brian Mooney, outside evaluator, Sarah Smith, interdisciplinary artist. Jonathan Hughes Fryer, Bachelor of Arts, History and Religion. A study of evil or monstrous beings of the Western world, including the character of the devil in Abrahamic faiths, the role of demons in late medieval magic, and the appearance of demon-like figures in Gothic literature. Sponsors Amr Latif, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Michael Pittman, Albany College of Pharmacy and Health Sciences. Ashley Gray, Bachelor of Arts. Visual arts through painting, works on paper and ceramics, and investigation on how appearances of the ordinary are transformed by the play of light, texture, and focus. Sponsors Kathy Osman, Martina Lanton. Outside evaluator Elizabeth Meyerson, Smith College. Eva Grimaldi, Bachelor of Arts, Sculpture and Sociology. A study of visual arts and sociology that compares punk culture in social behavior and art making. Sponsors Timothy Seeger, Gerald Levy, outside evaluator Elizabeth Alexander, Montserrat College of Art. Nicole Hager, Bachelor of Arts, Anthropology, Ethnohistory, an exploration of the relationships between humans and plants in Latin America and Europe, and the role these interactions play in traditional healing methods that could be described as shamanism or witchcraft. Sponsors Carol Hendrickson, Adam Franklin Lyons, Jennifer Ramstetter, outside evaluator Abigail Adams, Central Connecticut State University. Robin Harney, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts and History, Medieval Studies, a body of artwork based on traditional fairy tales incorporating influences from medieval manuscript illumination. Sponsors Kathy Osman, Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator Lauren Mills, independent artist. Nikki Hogg, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, History, and Religion. A study on how the poetry of Robert Browning and Lord Alfred Tennyson critiques materialism with a focus on the theory of evolution via natural selection. Sponsors Richard Glazier, Amr Latif, outside evaluator Martha Borer, North Central College. Raven Peter Hetzler, Bachelor of Arts, Economics. An exploration of economic rent-seeking, the methodology of economics, and the role that narratives play in economic theorizing. Sponsor, James Tober, outside evaluator, Daniel Barbazat, Amherst College. Congratulations. Alexander Hyam, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science, Embedded Systems. A study of classical computer science algorithms and techniques as applied to embedded digital systems through the design and fabrication of open source hardware. Sponsor, Jim Mahoney, outside evaluator, Chuck Malik, independent engineer. Congratulations. Madeline Aaron Holm, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management, Liberal Studies, Education and Ceramics, an examination of mandatory community service in primary and secondary education, and the production and analysis of socially engaged ceramics. Sponsors, Ken Schneck, Martina Lanton. Outside evaluator, Nicole Nemec, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Alexandros Kaspars Yanzarmas, Bachelor of Arts. Photography and Asian Studies and Writing, an examination of Japanese culture and American identity as both are revealed by travel and its aftermath, conducted through historical analysis, photography, and creative non-function. Sponsors, John Willis, Seth Harder, John Sheehy. Outside evaluator, Jim Dow, Tufts University, the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. Kali Kamara, Bachelor of Arts. Politics, African American Studies, an exploration of the political teachings of Plato, Aristotle, and Machiavelli with respect to the morality of hip-hop music. Sponsors, Meg Mott, Rosario de Swanson, outside evaluator, Etan Nasreddin Longo, independent scholar. Lila Rose Colberlin Jerry, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, Visual Arts, an investigation of the role of art and narrative in realizing selfhood through an analysis of works by Marcel Proust and Virginia Woolf, supported by a visual art component. Sponsors, Geraldine Pittman de Baget, Kathy Osman, outside evaluator, Jules Chometsky, University of Massachusetts, Amherst, Emeritus. Evan Lamb, Bachelor of Arts, Theater and Writing, a distillation of the new artistic practices of immersion theater with a focus on the imagery, narrative structure, and performance tactics of Sleep No More. Sponsor, Paul Nelson, outside evaluator, Edward Isner, College of the Holy Cross.
Claire Llewellyn Linsdale Riley, Bachelor of Arts, Environmental Studies and Visual Arts, an exploration of the landscape systems considered through a biological and sculptural lens with a focus on the ecology of urban spaces and land-based sculpture. Sponsors, Jennifer Ramstetter, Timothy Seeger. Outside evaluator, Jessica Cooney, Green Mountain College. Cora Marie Lively, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Sociology, an exploration of the effects of neoliberal economics on United States immigration policy and civil rights discourse. Sponsors Meg Mott and Catherine Rickenbacker. Outside evaluator, Seema Shaksari, Wellesley College. Matthew Paul Yarena, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, an analysis of the character of the narrator in the Brothers Karamazov for the sake of accessing another layer of Dostoevsky's Authorial Discourse. Sponsor, Geraldine Pittman-Dabage. Outside evaluator, Melissa Frazier, Sarah Lawrence College. Evan Austin Lawrenson, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts, Animation. An investigation of visual and technological appropriation as a means to engage the viewer within the context of animation. Sponsors Kathy Osman, Hillary Baker, and Carol Hendrickson. Outside evaluator, Patricia Galuis Asmus, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Alan Magana, Bachelor of Arts. Music, Music History and Languages, Latin American Studies, Spanish. A study of the musical practices in the Franciscan missions of the Alta California territory of New Spain in the late 18th and early 19th centuries. Sponsors Stanley Charkey, Rosario de Swanson. Outside evaluator, Robert Eisenstein, Mount Holyoke College. Kaylin Marsden, Bachelor of Arts, Anthropology, Medical Anthropology. A cross-cultural exploration of pregnancy and childbirth with a focus on flows of obstetrical knowledge, ethnographic writing, and intersubjectivity. Sponsor Carol Hendrickson, outside evaluator, Sienna Craig, Dartmouth College. Daniel P. Melman, Bachelor of Arts. Literature, Interactive Fiction, Classical Studies, and Writing. An exploration of the genre of interactive fiction, combining literary and historical analysis and incorporating original creative work. Sponsors John Sheehy, T. Hunter Wilson, Brian Mooney, and Evelyn Richardson. Outside evaluator, Ethan Gilsdorf, writer. William Pinkney Simons Michael, Bachelor of Science, Biology, Human Physiology, Science Writing. A review of the anatomical and physiological effects of running on the human skeleton and an examination of modern running techniques and technologies. Sponsors Jamie Tanner and Kyle Lingard. Outside evaluator, Joseph Hamill, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Gordon Richard Morse IV, Bachelor of Arts. Asian Studies, Japanese Education and History, a study of history and pedagogy focusing on the Japanese educational model through its examination framework, cultural values, and history textbooks. Sponsors Seth Harder and Adam Franklin Lyons. Outside evaluator, Mark Linsacombe, College of the Holy Cross. Congratulations. Jesse Mike Nesser, Bachelor of Arts. Cultural History, International and Political Conflict, and Film Video Studies, Documentary Studies. An investigation through documentary film, academic papers, and a screenplay of cultural perceptions of political conflict and how these perceptions are influenced and shaped by media. Sponsors Dana Howell, Jay Craven, and Paul Nelson. Outside evaluator, Leonard Berkman, Smith College. Joshua Tyler Peterson, Bachelor of Arts, Film Video Studies, Visual Aesthetics. An exploration of the myriad branches of feature film and music video through the niche lens of the behind-the-scenes and B-roll content. Sponsor Jay Craven, outside evaluator, Nora Jacobson, Off the Grid Productions. Charles Vincent Pillette. The last graduate of the class of 1973. Bachelor of Arts, Literature and Photography, a written exploration of the conflicts of meaning in Conrad's Heart of Darkness, the visual language of war monuments, and the perceived and actual experiences of military veterans. Sponsors Geraldine Pittman-Dabaget, Brian Mooney, John Willis. Outside Examiner, Madeline Blaze, University of Massachusetts, Amherst. Sean Piles, Bachelor of Arts. Writing Politics, a study of radical and normative theories of journalism, including the role played by radical alternative media in periods of democratic tension. Sponsors John Sheehy and Lynette Rummel. Outside Evaluator, Mark Rosler, Editor-Journalist, Valley Advocate. Evan Appleman Sachs, Bachelor of Arts, Environmental Studies, Ecological Design and Photography, a study of the ecological design and photography exploring topics of systems thinking, the built environment and humans' relationship to the natural world. Sponsors Jennifer Ramstetter and John Willis. Outside Evaluator, Charles Lorist, permaculturist. Elliot Samuel Lamb, Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, Brewing Studies, and Film Video Studies, documentary film. A holistic approach to the study of brewing using history, microbiology and chemistry, film, and the production of actual beers. Sponsors, Adam Franklin Lyons, Jay Craven, and Todd Smith. Outside Evaluator, Christopher Jarvis, Hampshire College. Christina Schneider, Bachelor of Arts, Photography and Philosophy. An examination of identity, memory, and the reconciliation of our lived experience with its internal manifestations through philosophical exploration, photographic self-portraiture, and collage work. Sponsors John Willis and William Edelglass. Outside Evaluator, Amy Montali, Rhode Island College. Erica Shamlin, Bachelor of Arts, Biology Genetics, a study of shark genetics that shows how evolution underlies molecular genetics techniques for species identification and studies of genetic diversity. Sponsors Todd Smith and Jennifer Ramstetter. Outside Evaluator, Cynthia Hayes, Keene State College. Tristan Dirk Stam, Bachelor of Arts, Visual Arts and Environmental Studies, an exhibition of artwork and an accompanying scientific study connecting ecological processes with personal reflections in the nature of survival. Sponsors Kathy Osman and Jennifer Ramstetter. Outside Evaluator, Jessica Cooney, Green Mountain College. Nicholas Lambert Stefan, Bachelor of Arts, Asian Studies, Chinese Nationalism, a coherent study of Chinese nationalism and patriotism since 1966. Sponsors Seth Harder and Grant Lee. Outside Evaluator, Orion Lewis, Middlebury College. Jessica Stout, Bachelor of Arts, Literature, British and History, Women's History, an examination of feminine identity in literature and history with a focus on the works of Jane Austen, George Eliot, and Virginia Woolf. Sponsors Geraldine Pittman Dabage and Adam Franklin Lyons, outside evaluator Jules Chemetsky, University of Massachusetts, Amherst Emeritus. Peter Sullivan, Bachelor of Arts, Politics, Environmental Studies, an investigation of alternatives to conventional environmentalist thinking, focusing on critical perspectives on technology. Sponsors Meg Mott and James Tober, outside evaluator Christian Parenti, School for International Training. Congratulations. Kelsa Emmanuel Summer, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management, Economics, Development, and Politics Development, a study of the economics and politics of development and social change with a focus on organizational forms, incorporating fieldwork from South Africa and Kenya. Sponsors James Tober and Lynette Rummel, outside evaluator James Levinson, Tufts University. Melinda Tenenzaff, Bachelor of Arts, Film, Video Studies, and Politics, a promotional documentary on an American organization supporting African schools, and a written political analysis of development policy and theory during the Cold War. Sponsors Jay Craven and Lynette Rummel, outside evaluator Bess O'Brien, independent artist. Scott David Weaver, Bachelor of Arts, Liberal Studies, Latin American Studies, an interdisciplinary examination of the origins of violence in contemporary Mexican governance and public life. Sponsors Carol Hendrickson and Rosario de Swanson. Outside evaluator Michael Clancy, University of Hartford. Edward Regan White, Bachelor of Arts, Politics and Photography, a collection of experiments examining the ghostly forces that shape and move private and political bodies, using political theory and photography. Sponsors Meg Mott and John Willis, outside evaluator Jim Dow, Tufts University, the School of Museum of Fine Arts. Henry C. White, Bachelor of Arts. Film, Video Studies, Medievalism in Modern Cinema and History, Medieval Studies, an examination of both historic and pop culture representations of the medieval world, focusing on medieval chronicles and modern cinema. Sponsors Paul Nelson and Adam Franklin Lyons, outside evaluator Carl James Grindley, Hostess Community College, City University of New York. Margaret Ann Hutzler Wood, Bachelor of Arts, Certificate in Nonprofit Management, Liberal Studies, Education, and Gender Studies, a study of sexuality education and how it relates to social inequality through a comparison of education provided in public schools to that provided in community-based organizations. Sponsors Ken Schneck and Renee Bird, outside evaluator Gary Kelly, Clarkson University. Anna Claire Woodward, Bachelor of Arts, Psychology, Education and Child Development, an exploration of early childhood education by examining the ideals of Waldorf pedagogy and the significance of play in child development. Sponsors Tom Tolino, outside evaluator, Laura Tucker, New England Youth Theater. Elias Zaidan, Bachelor of Arts. Computers. I'm sorry. Elias Zaidan.
I'm sorry.
I was corrected. It's Elias. Elias Zaidan, Bachelor of Arts, Computer Science and Languages. This would happen on the last one, of course. Computer Science and Languages, Computational Linguistics, and Investigation of Natural Language Processing and Machine Translation. Sponsors Jim Mahoney and Grant Lee, outside evaluator Jason Narodowski, University of Massachusetts. Congratulations. That's it.
Is that it? Yeah? All right.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Is anybody else? Can we get Governor Shumlin?
Yeah, we will. Just want to get the words right here.
Yeah, exactly. Where is it? Where is it?
All right.
Where?
May we ask the governor to join us at the podium?
Where do you see it? Oh, by the 30.
Yeah.
I thought you were done with me.
Well, since we are about to declare these graduates officially graduated by the power invested in us by the state of Vermont, we thought we'd invite the power.
Let's do it.
Come forward.
All right.
Okay, are you ready? You got your tassels? All right.
By the authority vested in us by the state of Vermont and the Board of Trustees, we now declare you graduates of Marlboro College.
One last part of our ceremony this afternoon. I congratulate the class. I'm going to miss you. And I want to invite Ken Schneck to come to the podium in just a moment, but a few stage directions beforehand. After the valediction and during the recessional, those of you who are guests, please remain seated, and then please join us just up the hill in the dining hall for more celebration and some refreshments. Ken Schneck is going to be delivering his last official words to this community as our outgoing Dean of Students, and the valediction, the last words you will hear this afternoon. Ken?
When I was asked to deliver this valediction, I felt honored, I felt humbled, I felt a tremendous amount of pressure to say just the right thing with these last words you will hear at your commencement. I want to leave you with something truly notable, echoing some sort of world-renowned speech that you will remember for all your days to come. As I struggled with this task, I assumed the lotus position, I took a few deep breaths, I went inside myself, I visualized the right set of words, and I called my mother for help. "Mom, I really need to come up with something good to say." Without missing a beat, she replied, "Oh, you should read that poem you wrote right before your bar mitzvah." What? I asked. "That poem," she insisted. "I love that poem. Mom, I really wanted something a little bit more notable, a little bit more award-winning." "Did you or did you not win the 7th grade creative writing award with that poem?" "Okay, Mom, thanks for your help." "I love that poem," she concluded. "Right, thanks, Mom." I got off the phone with her a little bit annoyed that she would come up with something so inappropriate to this occasion, so sophomoric in its execution, so offbeat that she would think my 7th grade poem should usher you through this huge transition. Why, by Kenny Schneck, February 7th. 1990. Sometimes I often wonder about the lightning and the thunder, about the moon above the sky and the soft clouds rolling by. I wonder if they're just in my mind, or if I look, then I will find that I'm awed by all I feel because everything is real. So if you're sad someday, or your mind is in dismay, or your friends are mad some way, just look up at the sky, see the soft clouds rolling by, and just sit and wonder why. Graduates, may you go forth wondering. She's going to be so happy. May you go forth wondering, may you go forth questioning, and may you go forth knowing that a call home might be all you need.